and the cost of borrowing for both and the staff member was £5,933 per month, which is a net cash flow position of £12,567 per month. Because at the end of the day, an asset's only an asset if it's putting money in your pocket. If you're having to fund that every month, then it's not an asset, and there's only so long that you're going to be able to do that for. The net profit that we made from that one deal was £108,120. So the return on investment on that was 64%.
So I'm now delighted to announce our next, one of our next top performers who's sharing her incredible journey over the Mastermind virtual year. Let's welcome Lindsay Yuill. Well done. Welcome, Lindsay. Everyone, let's say hello. Take it away, Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. So first of all, I would also like to thank every one of you for being part of this journey. It's been a great year. I'm super proud of everyone on the programme, but also really, really grateful to Simon, Andy and Rob specifically for all the help and guidance that you've given us all. Where I started off, I'm a mum of two little boys. My husband was wanting to get into property this year and do a little bit more of what I do. So we basically decided that our goal for this year was to get him out of the corporate world and into the property world. I also own a letting agency in Scotland, and we're based in the Central Belt. So we've got a couple of offices. So our kind of strategy and plan was really for me to reduce my workload, for my husband to come into the business, and really to kind of just build network and things like that as well. So in January of this year, I became the Edinburgh pin host, and I think the network has been really, really critical to the success of our journey. We've had quite a lot of market challenges in Scotland this year. Our ADS, or additional dwelling supplement, increased to 6% in December. Obviously, we've had a rent freeze and a moratorium on evictions. We've got SA licensing laws now, and we can't use a lot of strategies like PLO and things. So it's been a bit more challenging, I would say. And there's been a temptation to jump south of the border and do some deals down south. But I think we've made the conscious decision to try and learn the new rules and make it work on our doorstep. So I'll just jump into our next slide. So some of the strategies that I've used this year, because we don't have PLOs as an option up here, we have decided to do some buy, develop, development projects and selling on to generate deposits for new properties. So probably for every one that we flip, we'll probably keep one or maybe two, depending on what we generate from that. Buy to let, obviously the ultimate goal for most people in property is to buy and hold stock and generate monthly cash flow. Off-market sales and deal packaging is something that we've been doing this year as well. Business acquisition from the letting agency side of things is another strategy that we've used for aggressive growth. And obviously networking is probably the number one thing that we've continued to do throughout the year. The first case study I've got is a property in Lochgelly. It's 20 Lumpfinians Road. Now, this property was not mortgageable when we purchased it. We got it for 72,000, and that was when the additional dwelling supplement was still only 4%. So the cost of the ADS was 2,880. Now, this property was probably in the worst state that I've ever seen a property. There was a hole in the roof that was bigger than me. There was water just running right through one side of the property. So the right hand side of the property was basically completely saturated. The left hand side of the property was completely dry and habitable. There had been vandalism as well, so people had broken in, vandalised some of the windows, spray painted some of the walls and stuff like that. So that was all prior to us taking the property on. There was no render on 3 sides of the building, so even the brickwork was really, really kind of wet and everything like that. So we had to do quite an extensive project of refurb with this. So it needed new windows, we put on new doors, it needed new kitchen, new bathrooms, basically a full refurb throughout. It was historically set up like 3-bed flats, but there wasn't a split title on it, and so basically we turned it into a 7-bed house, and we didn't need to do a title split because it had never been split in the first place to go into flats. The refurb costs for everything, and what I would say with this one as well, because we had significant drying out to do, about £3,000 of the costs were actually electricity and just running the heaters and the dehumidifiers for a couple of weeks. So I would suggest that you build that type of cost in with power increasing at the moment into refurbs, because that's not something that we'd ever really factored in before. We sold, so it was revalued when we done the refurb at 270,000, but it was like right at the peak of the market, so we sold it for 280. The net profit that we made from that one deal was £108,120. So the return on investment on that was 64%. The next case study I want to share with you is the company acquisitions that we did. So I've lumped them both together just to make it easier to kind of just demonstrate. So the two companies that we bought were very, very small companies. The turnover collective for both of them was £222,000. We purchased both for £320,000, which increased our managed properties in the letting agency by 177 managed properties. So our turnover is obviously based on a percentage of the rent. With one of the companies, it came with a part-time staff member. With the other one, they were retiring, so it didn't come with any staff at all. So the cash flow on that was 18,500 per month. And the cost of borrowing for both and the staff member was 5,933 per month, which is a net cash flow position of £12,567 per month. There's 4 directors in that company, so my share of that would be 3,141. Our plan is not to have long-term debt in the company, so what we're going to do is, instead of just sticking to the monthly payments, we're going to overpay, and we expect to be fully debt-free on both those transactions within a 2-year period, which then makes them 100% profitable thereafter. And the only cost then would be the one part-time staff member that we retained with the book. The next case study I'm going to talk about is a property in Glasgow that we bought. So this property was purchased for £60,000. It was it was a 1-bed flat at the time. The refurb and legal fees were £18,000. And what we basically did was we changed it from a 1-bed property into a 2-bed property by moving the kitchen into the lounge. So the gross development value at the end was 105,000 after refurb, and we managed to refinance it for 78,750. So got the bulk of our money back out, which basically meant it was almost effectively no money down. There's still £26,000 equity in the property, and the rent that we achieved for that was £795. The mortgage and insurance payments were £340. So the net profit or net cash flow after costs was £455 a month. Those are just a couple of examples of some of the strategies that we've used this year. Future deals, I'm speaking to one of my clients just now that's potentially selling 13 properties. So they're wanting to bulk them into 2 portfolios of 6 and 7. So I'm speaking to them just now as to what their plan is and how they want to kind of structure that. We're also speaking to another letting company about potentially selling their business. That's another 173 properties. We're speaking to 2 potential new business partners for franchising at the moment. and we are currently getting consent to turn a 3-bed property into a 4-bed property. So we're just in the kind of drawing stage of that just now. This is a summary of the deals that we've done this year. So obviously I've already told you about the first one, that one was sold. So we released the cash from that one. The second one is a property in West Calder. We bought that for 75. It was valued at 110 and we sold it to the council for 109. So again, we released our money out of that one. The next one is a property in Livingston. We bought that one at auction, did a bit of a refurb on it. That one came with tenant in situ who'd lived in the property for 18 years. So it was immediately rent producing and it had a 35 grand equity in it from the beginning. Copla is the one I've just told you about in Glasgow. So that's another one that we did. Now, these deals, we did some joint ventures this year as well. So the top figures are the actual figures for what the properties are worth, and the bracketed figures are our share of the, like, basically the deal. So these 5 and the one on the next page we bought as a portfolio of 6 properties. We did get a slight discount on the portfolio, but it was a Edinburgh portfolio, and Edinburgh prices typically go way over the odds. So it wasn't a massive discount. And on paper, although we did get money off and things like that, because it's rented at the moment to the council for social housing, the rents on the 6 properties aren't very good in terms of what you would get in full market value. The reason this deal was attractive to us was a couple of reasons. First of all, we got a bit of a discount. Second of all, we saved a additional dwelling supplement, because if you buy a portfolio of 6, you don't have to pay ADS. That's obviously a significant saving for us now that in Scotland their ADS is 6%. The rents on these are particularly low, but the contracts with the council's coming up for renewal. So Bonington, we've already got back and we're in the process of refurbing and re-tenanting. The others, there's 2 that are coming back in August and September, and then there's another 2 that are coming back in February and March. So at that point, we'll refurb them, the end value will increase, and the rents will be increased as well by another maybe £200 to £300 a month. So albeit this deal, the reason we kind of went for this deal is because of the long-term plan with it. And in Edinburgh, in the last 5 years, the market value of properties has increased by about 40%. So it's quite a significant increase in comparison to other areas in Scotland where the valuation increases have not been quite as significant. So we've got a much more of a longer term plan with this particular set of properties. The first property on this list is also included in the previous 6 I was talking about. One of our other clients was selling another portfolio of 6, which is the next 4 and the first 2 on the next slide. These were based in West Lothian. Now, in West Lothian, the house prices have increased, but not to the same level. The reason this portfolio was attractive to us was because A, like obviously we saved the additional dwelling supplement. B, I have managed and ran these properties for over a decade on behalf of the client. So for these ones, these were particularly attractive because I have all the history, the maintenance history, the rental history, a lot of the tenants we've got a great relationship with. So we wanted to keep them in, and we bought them all with tenant in situ as well. So the top one is included in that previous portfolio, and Waverley Street is included in that portfolio. Andrew Avenue is the property that we just bought in Bathgate. This one we had a 2-week window to refurb it and turn it around because we had a tenant that we had to move in urgently. This is the property that we are going to apply for consent to change it from a 3-bed to a 4-bed. So it's actually worked out quite well for us that the tenant that's moved in had to move in as part of an insurance claim because their house is actually badly water damaged. So by the time they are ready to probably move back into their own property, we should hopefully have the consents in place to then make it into a 4-bed, which should increase the rent beyond the 950 as well. And it'll also increase the equity because it'll then increase the value by default. So the summary of the deals, obviously this is the summary of the deal of the company purchases. So that's a net cash flow position of 12,500 per month. Obviously the gross kind of purchase price that we actually paid was 829,000, but the actual end value of is 2,275,000. Now the figures on the bottom line is our share of that. So if we did any joint ventures, obviously we don't take into consideration the top line figures, it's the bottom line figures. So basically the equity we've achieved this year is 170,500. For the rentals, it's 6,163 per month net profit. For my share of the company stuff, it's 3,141 net profit. And from the house sales, it's 128,000. So my top tips are: due diligence is critical to success. You really need to do a lot of research prior to buy-in to make sure that the numbers work. Sometimes it is worth doing a deal if the numbers don't work, if you have an exit plan or an exit strategy that you can implement within a very short space of time. Also plan your strategy, and I would say have your exit plans before you purchase a property. So for example, if it didn't work out, doing what you plan to do with it. So for example, if you planned on doing an SA and you didn't get the license, if you planned on doing HMO and you didn't get the license, then you need to make sure that the numbers still work on a private rented basis or on a flip basis, or if you can add value to the property, because at the end of the day, you want to be buying and be in a position that you can exit out if you have to at very short notice. Another top tip I would say is build a power team. Nobody's absolutely perfect at everything. Nobody's got all the knowledge available, but if you put in experts who are expert in legals, expert in maintenance, expert in mortgages, expert in valuations and things like that, then you should succeed. Don't try and do it yourself. Definitely don't guess. Analyze all your costs before purchasing, and overestimate your costs, because on every project there's always things that come up that weren't maybe in the original budget and in the original plan. So I would say always have a contingency budget for things that come up that you maybe wouldn't see. So for example, when you strip back plastering walls, you might find something beneath the surface, that kind of thing. Make sure your numbers work in terms of return of investment, yield, etc. Always buy for positive cash flow or long-term capital growth, or both, depending on what the property is and what the strategy is. Always have a pipeline, because some things come in quicker than others. Some things don't work and should be disregarded if they don't work, because at the end of the day, an asset's only an asset if it's putting money in your pocket. If you're having to fund that every month, then it's not an asset, and there's only so long that you're going to be able to do that for. So always have a pipeline. Always continue your own professional development with courses and strategies and things. The laws are changing all the time. There's different, the market's changing all the time. It's a cycle. Sometimes it peaks, sometimes it troughs. And you need to be able to run an excellent business in a downturning market, because if you can run it in a downturning market when it's a booming market, you should be really, really successful. People that are only successful in an upcoming market are going to really, really struggle when the market turns down the way, and it will over a 20 or 30 year period. So always kind of position yourself to be around the experts that know more than you do. about the market at the time. And again, just always plan your exit before you purchase a property. So if the worst case scenario does happen, you can exit in some way, shape or form. You know, so like, for example, the property that we bought, that we sold to the council, I contacted the council before I bought it to see if that would be one they would be interested in buying. And they did say that they would, and so on. So always kind of just make sure that you've got something to back you up if the, you know, the normal strategies wouldn't necessarily be the ones that you would be able to implement. And that's me, really.
I do hope you got massive value from watching that inspirational case study. Hope you took lots of notes and start using some of the hints and tips in your property investing journey. Now, if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure you hit the bell icon so you'll get notified whenever we bring out new content and training that's going to help you be a more successful investor. If you got any comments, just list those below, and I'll come back and answer as many as I can. And by the way, there's going to be a link below for you to get some further training so you can find out how you can get the kind of results we've just been talking about in this interview. As ever, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. See you in the next video we've lined up for you.